2, 1. We are live now, right here at the b.hive production studios in Winthrop, Minnesota. Welcome, everybody. Welcome and welcome back from Christmas vacation. I just got back from Florida last weekend. And yeah, it's been busy since I've been back. So, anyhow, I had a great vacation. Thought about you guys. And tonight we are on episode 22 of the Sleepwalker saga. And we are reading from my book, Sleepwalker. And we are following the exploits of BroadMeadow. Hola, Kevin, and hello, and Happy New Year, Shannon. Welcome back, you guys. Hey, Beth, how's it going? Hey, Steph, how are you? You're with the farting badgers and the bees. So anyhow, yeah. So it was a great vacation. It was pretty relaxing. Florida was not sunny at all. It was rainy and gray and kind of gloomy, kind of like Minnesota, except for we didn't have the fog down there. But it was a nice visit with my dad and my stepmom and my sister and her fiance, and we got to do a lot of things, and it was nice to relax. That being said, I did leave a pre-recorded video for you guys. I read from my book Thin Spots last week. Hey, Bobby, how you doing? It's a long time no see, pal. Midnight Dreary I read for the 2024 Christmas special. I didn't get a whole lot of feedback from that, and I think the reason for that, yeah, Minnesota did suck. You vacationed at the wrong spot, bud. I didn't get a lot of feedback on it, so Bobby fell asleep during it. So yeah, I think the big difference in that is that it wasn't read live. I wasn't here with you guys reading it. I do plan on reading my book Thin Spots after we get done with the Sleepwalker saga here. So I'll read it again, and we'll do it live, and we'll do it together. But I had to leave you something for Christmas while I was gone. So anyhow, we are back, and we are talking about Bo. The last time we were hanging out with BroadMeadow was he had gotten pulled out of through a thin spot, and he was pulled out by a shaman, an ancient shaman who knew what he was going through and gave him a talisman to wear to help him find the original thin spot so he can get back home. And so when he wakes up in this reality, well, he thinks it's going to be the right one. And yeah, unfortunately, I've still got some adventures for Bo. Anyhow, so before I get into that, I've been looking up some info for you guys that is related to the story. And I guess what I'll read before we go in is this article I found in theweek.com. It's a online magazine, and the title of the article is "Are We Heading for World War III?" European nations have quietly begun to lay down the foundations for possible war with Russia, said Newsweek after asking military experts to game out how they see the start of a potential third world war. NATO is also preparing for several scenarios, including an all-out shooting war, and the more likely but less obvious scenario where well-worn techniques are employed to undermine stability among member states. Any of the current conflicts in Eastern Europe, the Middle East, or Asia could escalate into a global war that would almost certainly arise from tensions between Russia, the U.S., North Korea, Iran, and China. Retired U.S. Rear Admiral Mark Montgomery and former acting U.S. Secretary of Defense for Policy James Anderson told the magazine. In the Middle East, after more than a year of instability that has seen the Middle East come perilously close to an all-out regional war, the fall of the Assad regime in Syria has come as a major blow to its main backer in the region, Iran. At the same time, Israel has been quick to take full advantage of the situation by launching devastating attacks on Syria that have peeled away another layer of Iranian defenses in the region, exposing Tehran more than it has been in decades. The regime's growing vulnerability has alarmed its government, stirring fears that its steadily escalating conflict with Israel could soon enter a more dangerous phase. Iran was exposed already. Gregory Brew, an Iran analyst at the Eurasia Group, told the pair, referring to the previous wave of Israeli attacks on Iranian military facilities. With Hamas seriously depleted in Gaza and its most powerful proxy group in the region, Hezbollah, forced to agree to ceasefire with Israel, the fall of the Assad regime leaves Iran further weakened. This has led some hardliners in Tehran to talk more openly about developing nuclear weapons as a deterrent to attacks, said the Washington Post. In Russia, the Biden administration's decision to allow Ukraine to fire U.S.-supplied missiles inside Russia drew a furious response from Vladimir Putin, who immediately lowered the threshold of a nuclear strike, allowing Moscow to respond with nukes if it is attacked by any state using conventional weapons. Russia now also formally considers an assault on its territory by a non-nuclear power that is supported by a nuclear power to be a joint attack. In short, said Sky News, U.S. missiles fired by Ukraine meet the new criteria. Moscow's strident declarations are understandably worrying, said the New Statesman. Serious analysts express concern that Russia may escalate, and the world, as it has done so many times in the era of mass warfare, may sleepwalk, keyword, its way into an engulfing conflict. In China, it has long been assumed that the greatest threat to geopolitical stability is the growing tension between China and the U.S. in recent years, most notably over Taiwan and the question of its sovereignty. Beijing sees the island nation as an integral part of a unified Chinese territory. It has in recent years adopted an increasingly aggressive stance towards the island and its ruling Democratic Progressive Party, which it has denounced as dangerous separatists, but who won an unprecedented third term earlier this year. At the same time, the U.S. has ramped up its support financially, militarily, and rhetorically for Taiwan's continued independence. So yeah, there you go. And then we got North Korea. Since talks with Trump in 2019 broke down over disagreements about international sanctions in Pyongyang, Kim Jong-un has focused on modernizing its nuclear and missile arsenals, said Sky News. In his New Year's Eve address last December, he warned that the actions of the U.S. and its allies have pushed the Korean Peninsula to the brink of nuclear war. And he announced that the Hermit Kingdom had abandoned the existential goal of reconciling with rival South Korea, said the Associated Press. So there you go. We're TikTok. And I actually checked the clock about the doomsday clock, and we're at 90 seconds to midnight. So yeah, I'm not sure if that's a good thing, but I know it's a lot closer than we were. So there we have it. Anyhow, so maybe this is the reality he's waking up in, and that Bo's waking up in. Who knows? Who friggin' knows? Anyhow, also another thing I wanted to add. No, we'll talk about that after the story. So anyway, without further ado, let's get into tonight's story, Atomic Sunrise. And let's take a swig. Happy New Year's, everybody. Atomic Sunrise. A shot rang out into the morning air. Bo snapped open his eyes and wiped the frost gathering at his handlebar mustache. It was still morning. The sun shot. Hey, Jessica. The sun shot through the thick clouds that were beginning to dissipate. He looked around, seeing the dense fog that seemed to be a permanent fixture of this part of the woods. Jeff, he murmured to himself. As if in answer, his friend shouted across the blanketed valley between them. Woohoo! Echoing off the trees around them. Bo turned on his handheld two-way radio that he and Jeff took with them to communicate with.
Jeff?
He repeated again, this time into the mic.
You good?
Got him, came Jeff's snarky reply.
Buck? An 8-pointer. You lucky son of a bitch. I'll be over in a few to help you dress it.
Bo stood up and was immediately dizzy. He leaned over and put his hands on his knees and looked out into the valley. Shit, he thought to himself. I don't want to go through that. The dizzy spell left, and he took a deep breath, pulled on his backpack, and slung his rifle over his shoulder. He pulled out his .45 and cocked it to put around in the chamber, and then walked into that dark yellow fog.
On my way,
Bo says into his mic. His head stayed above the fog and in the sunlight for about 60 feet. He felt safe and warm in the sunbeam, but eventually the terrain began to drop with the temperature, and he was over his head. He walked quietly and purposely, stopping once in a while to listen to the sounds around him. He began to feel a little better as he began to hear his friend in the distance, grunting as he made his way around his kill with his fillet knife. Jeff! Bo shouted. Over here! Jeff answered. Bo followed the sound of his voice and made it to where Jeff was squatting. It was a beautiful white-tailed buck, 8 points on its antlers, its eyes open in a dead stare, and Jeff slit it from the breast to the crotch. Got him right in the heart, Bo said. Perfect shot, amigo. Thanks, Jeff answered. Help me get the guts out of this thing. The two friends made quick work of the carcass. Jeff put on his pack and handed Bo his rifle. He swung the deer over his shoulder and nodded. They made their way back to the truck without stopping. Once they had the deer back at the cabin, Bo started the coals on the grill, and Jeff sharpened the fillet knives. They both worked together to get the hide scraped, and then worked on butchering and processing the meat. The tenderloins were stripped off, and Bo washed up and put them on the grill. 2 beers cracked, and Bo jumped back into helping his friend finish processing. Bo kept the sinew, or silver skin, and dried it out, and used it later as twine for certain projects he worked on. He loved to make his own weapons, and he used sinew quite a bit to tether his projects. Once processing was done, Bo put food on the picnic table they had out back on the deck of the cabin. They'd pour themselves a lemmy and enjoy the meal they had shot. Traditionally, even if they didn't shoot a deer that year, they would just have a cigar together and get drunk by evening. This year was no different. I love coming up here with you, man, Jeff said, exhaling a puff of smoke. I really do. It's the only thing that calms me after Afghanistan. Well, it's been my pleasure, Bo said, looking at the stars. I love the woods. Even if we never got a deer every time we come up here, I still wouldn't miss it. They clinked their red solo cups together and took a deep draw. You know what we forgot, Bo said, pouring another drink. What's that? Jeff said. Will and Becca's chili feed. Ah, shit. Better call him, or he'll probably worry. Bo takes out his Samsung and dials him up.
Where the fuck are you two?
Will says. There's quite a bit of noise on the other line.
Did you get raped by the Sasquatch?
Sorry, man.
Jeff shot himself a buck, and we got so busy processing that we totally forgot about it. He did? How big?
8-pointer.
We just got done eating some tenderloins. Lucky bastards. Tell Jeff congrats.
I will.
You sound busy over there.
Oh, yeah. Fed about 28 hunters, and we still have a line out the door. Becca's gonna be heartbroken you two didn't show.
Tell her sorry. At least you know you'll have enough now that Jeff and I aren't coming.
True that. I'll let her know.
Hey, man, we'll meet up for breakfast at the Woodsman. 9 a.m. I gotta go. Leah's calling on the other line.
Later, bro. Bo taps his phone and picks up the other line.
Hey, babe.
Hey, she says. How did hunting go today?
Jeff shot one. We just finished cleaning it and eating. How's your weekend?
I don't know. I'm a little worried.
Why? What's going on? Are the kids okay?
The kids are fine. Have you watched the news?
No, I haven't really looked at my phone until now.
They're talking about war on the news. The Russians have begun their invasion of the Ukraine.
Oh, no, that's not good. But that's way over there, not here. We'll be okay, honey.
I don't know. I wish you and the kids were home.
Look, Leah, everyone is afraid to push the button. It's mostly just a dick swinging contest.
When are you coming home?
I should be home tomorrow night sometime.
Okay, I'll let you go. Say hi to Jeff.
Bo hangs up, lights up a cigarette. Everything okay? Jeff says. Bo blows out a puff of smoke. Yeah. Leah's really worried about what's going on overseas. Why? What's going on? Evidently, Russia invaded the Ukraine. Jeff spit out his drink. Say what? He said, surprised. Russia. They invaded the Ukraine, Bo repeated. What's the big deal? We knew that was going to happen. It's all overseas. It's not here. She say anything about China getting involved? What? No. Dude, chill out. It's not... Jeff pulled up the news on his phone.
Congress conference. China and North Korea have taken out Taiwan with nuclear weapons. A spokesperson for the Chinese government issued a statement saying, "Let Taiwan be warning to the United States and her allies. We will not be interfered with."
Jesus, Bo says. They're throwing nukes around. Jeff holds up his finger. Shh.
That all U.S. citizens abroad are recommended to return to the United States within the next 48 hours. Embassies across the globe in unfriendly countries are being routed to allied countries or being brought back home.
Jeff puts his phone down and looks Bo dead in the eyes. Remember us talking about this kind of stuff? Jeff asked his friend. Yeah, since we were kids, Bo answered. They had always had this conversation ever since Jeff came back from Afghanistan. They talked about what they would do if shit hit the fan, and they needed to hide out for a while. Both men had always had a plan to come up here. They had setups to keep power and fresh running water to the cabin if needed. They had always had a bug-out bag ready since their days in the Boy Scouts. Think this is it? Really? Yeah, brother. I think this is it. They called their wives. Jeff's kids still lived at home, so Shelley only needed to worry about bringing up the special trailer with herself and his 2 boys. Bo's kids were young adults and lived on their own with their own significant others. Leah was asked to bring as much food as she could fit into her SUV. Bo said he'd call the kids and make sure they got up here with them. His oldest daughter answered on the first ring.
Dad?
Libby sounded worried.
Hey, Libby.
Bo tried to sound nonchalant.
Are you okay?
I'm okay. I just got off the phone with Mom. What's going on?
Is Danny there with you?
Danny was his daughter's longtime boyfriend. He was a good kid. Bo liked him because he was very good to his daughter.
No, he's at work.
Okay. What time does he get done?
10 o'clock tonight.
All right, well, I'm going to need you to pack up as much food and water as you can and pick him up from work and come up here to Uncle Jeff's cabin.
But he doesn't get off until...
Honey, listen to me. You both need to get up here as soon as you possibly can. I think you've got at least 24 hours, but I'd rather have you up here sooner than later.
Dad, you're scaring me.
Good. Things are getting bad out there, honey. I want you with your family.
Okay, I'll do what I can.
Thank you. Please hurry. I've got to call your sister now. Be safe.
I will. I love you, Dad.
I love you too, kiddo.
Kathy was his youngest and first to get married. Her and her husband lived in Miller's Valley, Nodak. It was a small rural town that rested on the border between Sodak and Nodak. They were 4.5 hours from the Minnesota border and another 2 hours to the cabin.
Hey, Pops, Kurt, his son-in-law, answered. Kurt, Bo said. Kathy around? I think she's out feeding the chickens. Want me to get her? In a minute. Have you been watching the news? Yes, sir. So you know why I'm calling. I figured you would be. I was right. But I have followed everything you taught me, sir. We're prepped and ready for anything that life throws at us.
3 years ago, when a young 20-year-old Curtis Lund asked Bo for his blessing to marry his daughter, Bo told him that if he knew that Kathy was going to be well taken care of, he was okay with the wedding. Kurt had prepped for disaster. They canned food, they stocked up on guns and ammunition, and they had a tentative plan. Bo thought maybe he was a little gun-heavy when it came to surviving, and less food-savvy. But at least he had a plan.
How long do you think it would take you guys to get out here to the cabin? Bo asked. Well, Kurt cleared his throat. We're thinking on just hanging out here. What? Well, I've got the shelter buried in the backyard here, and we've got rations stored up underground. We got rabbits and chickens, and I'm armed to the teeth. I can appreciate that, Kurt, but her mother and I would really like it if you kids were here with us. And I can understand that, Mr. BroadMeadow.
Oh, Mr. BroadMeadow now.
But Kathy is a married woman now. You entrusted me to take care of her. Besides, I don't think there'll be any bombs dropped here on the Nodak Plains. There's literally nothing out here. There's literally missile silos 5 miles from your house. Well, yeah, but...
Bo counted to 10 and took a deep sigh.
Can you please put my daughter on the phone? It won't do you any good to try and talk her out of... Kurt, put my daughter on the phone.
Hello?
It was Kathy. Kat, he missed her already. Hi, hon, how are you?
I'm good, Dad. You know, despite things happening.
So, Kurt tells me you've decided to stay in Nodak?
There was a moment of silence. She was choosing her words carefully because she knew, no matter how she put it, her parents were not going to be happy. Hey, Chuck. Good to see you, buddy. Thanks for coming.
Yes, Dad. We think it's best because... I know. I heard all the reasons why you think you should stay. How do you think your mother is going to feel about this?
Dad, this isn't about how you or Mom feel. It's about what makes sense for me and my husband. And our baby.
What?
I'm sorry. I didn't want to tell you guys. I didn't want you guys to find out this way, but I'm pregnant. Yes, I know it's not really the best time in the world to get pregnant, but Jesus, Cat. I don't know what to say. You could say you're happy for me.
Bo ground his teeth and tried his best to calm down.
I'm sorry, baby. I am happy for you. I'm happy for you both. I just wish we could all be together. Your mother. You should call your mother and talk to her. Dad, she's not going to understand. I'm not sure I do either. I think it better she talks directly to you. I don't know when.
His heart began to break with the more words he said.
I don't know. I don't know how long the phones are going to be up when this shit hits the fan. Okay, Dad. I'll call her. I love you, kiddo. I love you so much. We'll try to get you out, or get out to you as soon as we can, okay? Okay, Dad. I love you too.
Bo hung up the phone and began slamming his fist into a nearby tree. Jeff came up and grabbed his friend's arms and held him still for a moment. "You okay?" Jeff asked. "No," Bo said. "Not at all, buddy." "Anything I can do?" "Thanks, but I don't think so. My youngest won't be coming. She's decided to stay where she's at." "Ouch. You trust her hubby to take care of her?" "Of course I do. He's a good kid, but now I'm going to be a grandpa, and the world is going to shit. Double ouch. Leah won't be taking this lightly." "Well, she's a mom." "Yeah." "Okay, amigo. Let's get this place set up, shall we?" Jeff had the property pretty much set up already. It was mostly a matter of plugging in the solar arrays and the mini turbines, organizing supplies, and perhaps tipping a few more lemmies. The wives and kids began to pull in. There were a couple of trailers to empty, and Bo needed to have a private talk with Leah. "What do you mean they're not coming?" Leah said through grit teeth. "Kathy and our son-in-law," Bo said, clearing his throat. He did it a lot when he was having an uncomfortable conversation. "Have decided that they were safer where they're at than trying to travel here." "We should go be with them," Leah said. "We should be together as a family." Traveling that far will not be easy. There'll be plenty of traffic trying to leave the bigger cities and heading out to the more rural areas." "Fine, then I'll go by myself." "Well, now you're just being ridiculous. What about Libby and Danny? You gonna leave me and them behind too?" "Well, God damn it, Bo." Tears were falling heavy down her cheeks. "Is it ridiculous to want to die with my family? Well, is it?" Bo felt about 3 inches tall. He grasped his wife in his arms. She tried fruitlessly to slap him away from her, but eventually fell into his chest and wept. "No," Bo kissed her forehead. "You're right. We should all be together." "Thank you." "It's okay. I better talk to Jeff. Can you try and get a hold of Libby?" Bo sauntered off to his high school buddy. They had played Dungeons and Dragons together in middle school, had many sleepovers through the summer months. They caught many a fish together on many Minnesota lakes. Bo watched his friend leave for the army and welcomed a battle-worn ranger home. They'd mourned parents together, stood up at each other's weddings, and hunted deer and the occasional duck together. Now they were saying goodbye for what looked like the last time. "Are you sure?" Jeff asked. "We've planned this moment our entire lives." "Yep," Bo said, not looking at his friend in the eyes. We didn't plan on our own families dividing into smaller families. But Leah's right. We should all be together. Well, let me load you up with some supplies then. Okay? Thanks, man. You know, I don't call too many people my brother. Lost ties with a lot of friends from our childhood. But you and the two remaining friends I fought with in Afghanistan are the only ones I consider my brothers. I know, and I'm honored. If we make it through this, I hope to see you all again. He hugged his friend and his friend's family, took the supplies Jeff helped him load, and they got into Bo's truck and drove down the gravel driveway. Libby and Danny are on their way to Katz, Leah said, buckling her seatbelt. They'll meet us there. Okay. Lee grabbed his hand and squeezed it. You don't think we're going to make it, do you? She said, looking at him. He paused and let that question roam around in his brain for a bit, picking and choosing the right words to come out of his mouth. I hope that we make it, he said finally. The odds are looking slim, but I'm hoping that I'm wrong and we can drive straight through. My concern is for Libby and Danny right now because they must drive through some bigger cities. Their route's going to be a rough one. I'll feel better when we're all huddled under the same roof. Thank you, she said sadly. Thank you for trying. He looked back at her and leaned in for a kiss. In 3 hours, they reached the border. He was surprised at how light traffic was. The sign before them made him do a double take. Welcome to Nodak, the Great Plain State. Nodak, he thought. Why doesn't that sit right with me? You forget most of your original life and every reality, but certain things seem to trigger your original consciousness. This is the key to finding your way back. My way back? He mumbled to himself. Everything okay, honey? Leah asked. What? Yeah. It's just what? I don't know. Nodak. Has this state always been Nodak? Are you being serious? Well, yeah. Something about it doesn't sit right with me. You're stressed. Let me turn on the radio.
Since the takeover of Ukraine and Taiwan, NATO has begun its retaliation, especially with Poland beginning to defend itself against Russian and Chinese ground forces. The president has asked for even more sanctions after the bombing and invasion of Alaska. The United States is now moving from DEFCON 4 to DEFCON 3. Martial law will be declared in the next 2 days. The president is asking for citizens to gather supplies and to move to somewhere safe, either an emergency shelter or in their basements. Always keep a battery-operated radio on and stay indoors.
I never understood what DEFCON meant, Leah states, looking grim. It's a military readiness system, Bo says. It stands for Defense Readiness Condition. DEFCON 5 is peacetime. DEFCON 4 is when the military begins gathering intelligence and supplies. 3 is when select forces are ready to deploy within about 15 minutes. DEFCON 2, military forces are standing ready to deploy and fight within about 6 hours. And well, DEFCON 1 is immediate military readiness. It's bad. It's the big kaboom. Shit is getting serious. Yeah, it sure is. Bo clicks on his Bluetooth. Dial Libby Lou.
We're sorry. All lines are busy. Please hang up your phone and try your call again later. Thank you for using Velocity Wireless.
Redial.
We're sorry. All lines are busy. Please hang up your phone and try your call again later. Thank you for using Velocity Wireless.
Son of a... Redial.
We're sorry. All lines are
End phone call. I'll try texting her, Leah says, taking out her phone. Libby, trying to call you, but the lines are tied up. Where are you? Hi, Mom. We're stuck in Montevideo. Roadblock. Are you safe? Yeah. Where are you and Dad? We just crossed over the Nodak and Minnesota border. You're about an hour and a half away from us. Are you and Dad okay? Yes, honey, we're okay. KK. Danny said he's going to try a back road out of here. Be careful. Traffic is pretty good up this way. We will. Love you, Mom. Love you too, kiddo. Everything okay? Bo asks. Yep, Lee says with a slight smile. Danny's going to try to find a back road out of Montevideo. Evidently there's a roadblock off to the north of them. Only a quarter mile from the highway. There's a flash from inside the earth. The ground begins to rumble, and Bo slows his truck down. A plume of gray smoke gushes from a hole in the ground, and then a long cylindrical object begins to rise from its nest. Across the plains, ICBMs are lifting into the daytime sky. Holy fuck, Bo shouts. Oh my God, Leah cries out. What's happening? It started. We began launching intercontinental ballistic missiles. What? This is it. This is the end. But the kids! Hopefully we can get to cats before they start hitting us. Bo punches the accelerator as the sky fills with nuclear rockets heading to end the lives of Russian and Chinese families. How long do you think it'll take for Russia to bomb us? Leah asked. I'm guessing they hit the button first, and we're counter-launching. It takes about 30 minutes for a missile to get to the U.S. from Russia, but I'm thinking they're going to hit the big places like New York and Washington, D.C., L.A. and Dallas, places like that, before they launch at America's breadbasket. 30 fucking minutes? Yeah. He clicks on his Bluetooth again. Dial cat. There's a ring this time, and not the annoying robot tone of busy lines.
Dad?
It was Kat's voice, shaky and quivering.
Dad, is that you?
Yes, honey, it's me and Mom.
Kathy begins to sob, and Leah joins in. Bo's heart is breaking, but he holds it in to keep focused on the road ahead.
Are you okay, baby?
Leah asks through her tears.
Yes, Mama. Kurt and I are making our way into the shelter now. We're trying to make it to you guys. Libby and Danny are right behind us, too. Mama, you're not gonna make it. Don't talk like that, honey. We're gonna make it. Your dad is driving really fast. But, honey, just listen to me, okay? Dad and I are gonna try to make it to you. We'll knock 3 times on the shelter door when we get there, okay? Just don't you worry. Mama? Yes, baby. I love you.
Leah knew what those 3 words meant. It meant we're not going to see each other again. She knew it and understood it, and so did Bo. Cat, Bo spoke up.
Yeah, Dad?
He remembers the first time the word Dad ever came from her little mouth.
I'm sorry, kid. I'm so sorry. It's okay. I know you tried.
Bo stopped the truck and began to weep to himself.
What are you doing? Leah spoke up. Why did you stop? I think you and Dad should head back to catch up with Libby,
Kat said between sobs.
But, Mom, I love you both. Tell Libby and Danny I love them too. Take care of that grandbaby of mine, Bo says. Tell them stories about Grandma and Grandpa, okay? I will.
An even brighter flash of light came from the south. The phone went dead, and for a temporary time of 8 seconds, Bo and Leah could only see a painful bright white. Then after 30 seconds, a loud boom shattered the windows of the truck and stopped the engine dead. The broken glass ripped Bo's shirt to shreds. Then a hot, searing wind blew, and before it could scorch their flesh, it tossed the truck and trailer into a spiral down into the ditch. They landed with a crunch and then slid down into a county ditch. Leah! Bo felt his way to the passenger side of the cab. Leah! I'm right here. She grasped his hand. They were upside down in a crumpled hunk of burning metal. The water in the ditch hissed as it began to run across the glowing frame of the truck. He looked around and saw a large cement culvert beneath a field approach. Come on, honey, he said gently. We need to get to that culvert over there. They unbuckled and fell from their seats. They were able to crawl through the crumpled window slot and waded through the water to the culvert. Their blisters screamed with every heartbeat. The sickening smell of their cooked flesh slithered into their ruined nostrils. Are you okay? He asked his wife. I'm in so much pain, she answered. I can't cry because I think my tear ducts have burned away. Try to stay as submerged as you can in the water. Jesus, Bo, I can't believe this is happening. This is a fucking nightmare. Do you think the kids... She couldn't finish that sentence. Bo could see all the supplies they had hauled in the trailer. They were sprawled all over the ditch and figured they were contaminated now. Bo? Leah asked him, staring at his chest. Yeah, he said. He couldn't see that well. Most everything was a partial blur. Where did you get that? Get what? She reached out and lifted what looked like a dream catcher, carved out of pipestone. This. I've never seen you wear that before. Huh? He looked down at it. I'm not sure. I don't remember putting it on, to be honest. It looks native. Maybe your mom gifted it to you or something. Yeah, maybe. But you haven't ever worn it before. That's strange. What's so strange? I wear my wedding band all the time and I don't even notice it's there on my finger. Did you get this from one of your side chicks? One of my... Are you being for real right now? It's the end of the world right now, Bo. Might as well be honest. I've cheated on you. What? What the fuck, Leah? Are you off your fucking rocker? Bo grabbed the talisman from her, and suddenly, it felt as if the breath had been knocked out of him. He almost drowned in the 2 feet of water they were lying in. Touch this talisman, and your memories will return to you. Oh, shit! He said as his brain began to flood with what he'd been through his entire life. Memories that did not belong to this Bo BroadMeadow, but to another. What's the matter? Leah spat. Speechless? Leah, he said quietly. Yes. We're not married. We're divorced. I think it might be a little hard to find a divorce lawyer now, Einstein. No. No, we got divorced about 5 years ago. You cheated. That's right. And it's not Nodak. It's North Dakota. What the fuck are you talking about? This isn't my reality. I don't belong here. I slipped through. I must find the original thin spot. Jesus. I think your brain got cooked. Where the fuck are you going? I need to get back. I gotta go back to the cabin. I need to find the original thin spot. You are not leaving my ass here. They both trudged up the scorched earth. Everything was covered in radioactive ash. Bo had kept his grip on the talisman while Leah kept pace with him. You're fucking insane, do you know that? She spat at him. Speak whatever hateful words you want, he said to her, looking towards the east. I've heard them all before. I've been through this already. You're talking crazy. You're not going to try to walk to the cabin, are you? With your lungs? Ha! A good father would be walking to see if his daughter survived, not look for some thin spot. They walked for about 4 miles. The pain from burns were lessened by his will to get back. Her burns only seethed with every step, to the point of berating her husband even more. He finally stopped. He turned around and took his ex-wife by the arms. Leah, he said gently, for whatever grief I've caused you, I'm sorry. And I'm saddened about the fate of my daughters in this reality and any other they are in. I love you in any reality I can remember, because you are the mother of my kids. But outside of that, there's nothing. I hope you can find happiness in this horrible apocalyptic world. But I must move on to where I belong. I'm so sorry for you, but I have to say goodbye again. And with that, he walked off. He didn't know if he would make it all the way back to Reamer, Minnesota, or the hunting grounds. He only knew that he had to try. He focused on the clip-clop of his boots against the dusty tarmac and kept east. Leah's shape got smaller and smaller. When he reached the border, he recognized the sign indicating he was leaving Nodak and entering Minnesota. It was burnt and twisted, and smoke drifted from it. Then there was another flash, and this time from the north. A rumbling roar ripped through the air, and he felt the incinerating heat begin to strip his flesh away. He planted his melting boots to the ground, gripping the talisman in disintegrating fingers, and squeezed his eyes shut. Take hold of the talisman, and remember who you really are. My name, Bo said through grit teeth that were beginning to fall out of his mouth. The lids of his eyes were melting away. My name is Bo BroadMeadow. I am... And that, my friends, is the end of Atomic Sunrise. And join me next week when we get to the story Visitors, when we come back to Bo BroadMeadow's little adventures there in the multiverse. Anyhow, talking about that, damn. Talking about that, I kind of looked up to see what it would be like in a real nuclear holocaust. And granted, some of this is speculation. Some of this is studies done from the Hiroshima blast. And this is what I found. A nuclear holocaust, also known as a nuclear apocalypse, nuclear annihilation, nuclear Armageddon, or atomic holocaust, is a theoretical scenario where the mass detonation of nuclear weapons causes widespread destruction and radioactive fallout with global consequences. So, besides the immediate destruction of cities by nuclear blasts, the potential aftermath of a nuclear war could involve firestorms, a nuclear winter, widespread radiation sickness from fallout, and or the temporary, if not permanent, loss of much modern technology due to electromagnetic pulses. Some scientists, such as Alan Robock, have speculated that a thermonuclear war could result in the end of modern civilization on Earth, in part due to a long-lasting nuclear winter. In one model, the average temperature of Earth following a full thermonuclear war falls for several years by 7 to 8 degrees centigrade. That's 13 to 15 degrees Fahrenheit on average. So, let's see. We talked about the likelihood of it. In the book Reasons and Persons, philosopher Derek Parfit posed the following question. Compare three outcomes. 1. Peace. 2. A nuclear war that kills 99% of the world's existing population. 3. A nuclear war that kills 100% of the population. He continues that most people believe that the greater difference is between 1 and 2. I believe that the difference between 2 and 3 is very much greater. Thus, he argues, even if it would be bad if massive numbers of humans died, human extinction would itself be as much worse because it prevents the existence of all future generations. And given the magnitude of the calamity where the human race would become extinct, he argues that there is an overwhelming moral imperative to reduce even small risks of human extinction. So, yeah. We got nuclear winters. We'd have to worry about EMP pulses taking everything out. So, anyhow, well, I'm glad you guys liked it. And I like it when Kevin says, holy shit, because that means, yeah. That means I did my job. So, anyways, I'm glad you guys like this story. Come back next week. I haven't got anybody yet for Tunes for Tuesday, but of course we're all set for next week with the visitors. So, anyhow, I'm glad to be back. Happy New Year to everybody, and thank you guys for coming back and enjoying, and we will all talk very, very soon. All right. Thanks for your support. Peace. Love you. We appear to be near that in reality. Yes. Yes, we do, Kev. We do appear to be very close to that reality, which is kind of scary. But especially when I heard we had a small level, I don't want to call it small, but there was a terrorist attack, it's being called, in New Orleans. 4 people in a car or something like that drove into and injured several people in New Orleans during New Year's Eve celebrations. So yeah, not cool. And they believe it's terrorists because they found some Islamist stuff in the car. So yeah. So let's hope 2025 doesn't bring about the destruction of the world. Because I don't know how I would do this if we lost all power and technology. I would actually have to sit by a fire and tell you guys the stories live, which wouldn't be bad either in person. Anyhow, so everybody stay safe out there. Be cool. Don't drive your cars in any buildings or fly your planes in any buildings. And just try not to be jerks to each other. All right? All right. Have a good night, everybody. Peace and a bottle of hair grease. There you go, Kev. That's for you and Bobby.